Motion to hold.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. With the minutes from August 18th, 2022, just take a quick minute to look at that.
Motion to accept the minutes of August 18th.
Second.
All in favor? No meeting mail, no appointments. First business, we get Dana here. Revenue update, Dana.
Sure. All right, so we just completed September's numbers. We're second week into October. Our forecast for September was 213, 240 with 4,500 rounds. So the month completed, we did roughly 4,500 rounds, and we came in at 237,278. If you look over to your far right, your July through September numbers would lead us to the forecast would have $776,000 through this fiscal year to date, and we're roughly at $828,716. So that's roughly 52,000 above forecast. Weather's been cooperative. Demand is strong. Demand is still strong as we speak. The course, Steve will get into the specifics, but the course, as far as what I'm hearing from feedback from customers and being out there a little bit looking at things, it's come back phenomenally. Looks really good. Much better than I anticipated. I thought we'd be feeling this into spring, but that piece of equipment and whatever Steve's doing, it is working, because we're hearing it from the customers. Even on getting into my car coming here, guys were saying, I haven't golfed in 2 weeks and I just can't believe the improvements that from the last time I came to now. It's awesome. So that's good news. And let me jump into this month, October, thus far. We have seen a little bit of weather that we haven't seen yet this season. So through yesterday, we have 88,000 in versus last October at 106. Specifically going into the numbers, we typically run our season pass holder promotion, and last year was a record-setting year where we did like 31,000 in the first, 3 or 4 days of season of that promotion. So of that 18,000 difference, roughly 14,000 of it is passes that haven't been purchased as of yet for that promotion. So the rounds are pretty much still there. We've had a few rain days, reduced rounds. Leagues are dropping off, which opens up the tee sheet to just regular tee play. It's looking good heading into fall. We got one more week of outings, a couple small outings, one big one this weekend, and a couple of small ones coming up, and then it's just straight tee time golf. So that should allow the course to help repair as well, because league rounds and outing rounds are hard rounds on the course.
What's the outing, Saturday?
We have one Saturday, Whaling City, and then we have two other ones coming up.
Okay.
Two smaller
Full
ones.
boat?
They were full boat, yeah. So, one thing I'd like to put on the radar is Golf Now has gotten in touch with me regarding their obsolete support of the current program, and they'll be looking to for us to sign a new contract with them with options of giving them another tee time, which will not increase our rate at all. If we switch our credit card vendor to their credit card vendor, we'll have the upgraded system that they have, and that will incur a $500 a month charge with the new software upgrade. And then if we don't do the matchup on the credit card systems, utilizing their vendor, it'll be $1,000 a month, so an additional $12,000 a year cost for the Golf Now software. Mandatory upgrade, because they're saying that I guess Windows is upgrading their system. They won't support the software once Microsoft stopped supporting their next run of their upgraded software as well. So I'll bring details for that, but just to put it on the radar, you're looking at either,
How much money we got from them?
how much money do we get from them? We don't get anything from them. We give them the money. We pay for their software, their reporting, their booking engine, technology, and that's how people book via their cell phones onto our T-sheets, through our website. And then we produce all of our reports come off of their software package. So that's everything that we present nightly to the town hall, that they do their accounting, and monthly all comes out of our database. It's uneditable, so the transactions are processed, it's locked in the database, the reports are fed to the town hall, and then they report all their accounting procedures via their office.
So it's not just the online booking, it's the point of sale system.
It's everything, yep. And then, well, see, so initially it was just the software when Harry Apima used to own it. Then he sold it to Golf Now, who I guess had this vision of theirs to tie in with, I think it's NBC, or I think it's NBC Sports, I think, is their affiliate. So you see him on the golf tournaments, advertising Golf Now, and they go through the whole spiel. And she started giving me her sales pitch of, oh, well, $500,000 increase in revenues via Golf Now. And I'm like, look, you didn't add $500,000 to our base. We were already doing that revenue. As a matter of fact, you've actually made money off of our tee times because they have to pay $2.49 to get through your software package, your booking engine. So you haven't added anything to my bottom line. We've added to your bottom line, and now you're coming back at us some more with some additional fee increases. I says, and now if I was to pass along the percentage increase that you put upon your loyal customers and your vendors, which is us, to my customers at that percentage, I said this golf course would be empty and nobody would be making any money. So, I'm gonna give you the information. We can sit down and look at it, and then if we want to, we can seek alternative options at that point. However, I mean, our entire database, you're kind of locked because they got you. They have your database, and all the reports and everything. All our history is in that database. So.
People looking to make tee times on their phone, I mean, Golf Now is kind of the king.
Yes, and I gotta be honest, we have benefited because we were locked in at that grandfathered 20-year ago rate with that first contract, and we might have legal take a look at it because we've never changed our contract. We have that contract in place, and it didn't have a time frame on it, so I don't see how that they can say that it's outdated and we have to mandatory update. A contract's a contract. They signed it, we signed it. There's no time frame on it. So I don't see how they can just say that it's not, it's negligible at this point. It's not.
And what is the fee?
They want to charge either $1,000 a month.
What have we been paid?
It's, I think it's like $1,200 a year. And then we give them a tee time every day, a foursome through the whole year.
And the $1,200 a year
Plus the $1,200 a year.
gave us the system.
The system, software.
So that they want to null and void that.
They want to null and void it and then make it either $1,000 a month or $500 a month, utilizing their credit card vendor. So we spend $25,000 in credit card fees. They're going to absorb those fees. They'll make that money, and then they're going to make. They still want that single tee time trade along with that.
I got a question for you, talking about credit card fees. Now, being down in South Carolina, if you use a credit card at a golf course, they automatically charge you 3%.
For the
A lot
charge.
of businesses do that.
All automatic,
Quite a few businesses.
3%.
Yeah.
You pay
Gas
by
station,
credit card,
well,
it costs you 3% more.
Yeah.
That was illegal. Is that legal?
It's
now to
legal,
do?
no,
Oh, yeah,
it's legal
been legal
now.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Being a municipality, it might be a different rule because I know we
Yeah.
discussed it before
Yeah,
with
maybe
Alan.
it charges it on my business.
We had talked. Well, we had talked about it with Alan and
Oh, do they?
thereafter with the other
A lot of
treasurer,
gas stations
Kathy.
charge you that.
And,
I guess they should give you cash,
think we're able
and
to.
you can, if you pay cash, it's cheaper than credit
Well,
card.
that's the same thing with the golf course. If you pay cash, you don't pay that 3%.
3%.
I think that's the workaround, that you can have a cash discount, but not necessarily maybe call it, a credit card surcharge.
Yes,
Right?
right.
It's the same net effect at the end.
So,
Right.
way to get
Yeah,
around
it's
it.
just wording.
It's-
Let's do it legally.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, I think they even do it,
That's-
if you,
that's-
if I use,
they're out of
if I
there.
use a credit card or my bank account in the town of Rehoboth to pay bills, tax bills and other bills, they charge you for it, using a
Yeah.
credit card.
Debit down there is fine.
Yeah.
No charge on that. But
Debit, yeah, that's a direct, that's a
That's a
direct
direct, yeah.
exchange.
But
Just like
anything,
cash.
anything to do with a credit card, they'll, I said, that's an extra, I said, what? Yeah.
I was giving you that information, so we could process it and discuss it moving into the
So
off-season.
the fee structure goes from 1,200 to 6,000 minimum?
Yes. Well, yeah, and then they get the luxury of the credit
Credit
card
card fee.
processing fees, those become theirs.
And one more round per,
If you do one more round per day for them, there's no additional increase in charge, but that's an insane amount of money. If you calculate that out, that could be astronomical. So, I mean, like I really went at it with him, and actually hung up the phone, and Isaac looked at me and goes, damn, you'll go to war with Russia, guy. I was like, listen, right is right. I'm standing my
They seen
ground.
that
and-
coming
and I-
years ago and
If
just
I don't make a
finally-
change, at least I can kind of maybe work to some sort of negotiation. If I just fold over, we're paying it. So I'm just gonna come at him full throttle and see what I can do.
So it's $12,000 a month.
Can we calculate how much free golf would,
I mean, technically, we've been booking so fast, they haven't got their time in a lot of days,
right,
but I can pull up the last 2 years of reports.
you got a record of
Yes.
every,
Yep, I'll pull up.
everyone who shows up, right?
I have, yes, everyone that I've processed will go through as Golf Now, weekday
Right,
or
right,
weekend. So
right.
I'll pull those up for 2 years, we'll see where we're at.
Right,
And then we can put a number to it
right.
and assess it. But, I mean, they're making, and that was part of my argument. Like, look, you haven't put any outlay of capital into a piece of real estate, equipment, fertilizers, pesticides, labor. I says, and then you're gonna come at me with this, basically, it's an outrageous increase.
Well, they're bringing customers in, so we need to determine whether that's a value to
Right.
us or not.
Right. Since we've had it,
It's an appeal.
like I said, I'm starting the fight for negotiations. I'm not saying that we should get rid of them. I'm saying we have benefited from Golf Now as they have benefited from us. We have just been fortunate to be grandfathered into one of their original customers way back in '98. So we've had the luxury of only that $1,000 charge, where I've heard guys complaining for a decade that they've been getting taken to the cleaners by Golf Now for 10 years already, and that hasn't been us, so we've done
Golf
quite
Now,
well.
We may have benefit from Golf Now, but nowhere near did we benefit as much as COVID-19.
Yeah,
Around
Hey,
just went through.
with the two hand in hand, it's been the perfect storm for
Right, so
Acushnet
the
River Valley.
my question is, if golf is back due to that, do we really need golf now?
Well,
So
I threw that at her
that's
too.
the
I said,
question.
we'll see how strong you are with your negotiations once a recession hits, and
Could
everybody's
we get-
battling.
Could we get the Acushnet legal team just to look at that contract to see if they can change it without,
Since they've changed owners, they're probably able to do that.
I mean, if we have a contract like that and all of a sudden they decide they want to change it.
yeah, I don't know.
there's
I mean, it's
no
worth
dates on
reviewing.
it or no,
I don't have a
the
copy
contract
of
would run
it.
out.
And as I told her, I said, listen, I don't have the authority to sign a contract with you for any type of
I mean, that's a lot of, a big
Time
increase in fees and stuff. I mean, if we could get somebody to actually look
So
at the
we paid
contract
that
and see
for
if
12
it's
months, right?
actually legal or not.
We will have to, yes, moving forward. Right now, we've been
So that's $12,000 that.
correct.
that's going to be paid versus 1,000.
Yes,
Increase of 11,000 bucks.
bingo.
Yeah, that's,
It's a lot of money.
Plus the credit card thing. Now with the fit, the credit cards is the same one that we use.
Correct.
And
And we can still do that. And that's when it's gonna cost us 12,000 if we keep our own credit card company. If we use their credit cards and they take those processing fees, then it goes to $500
a month,
a month.
so half.
But, so it's worth bouncing around. I mean, we benefit from the technology. There's hands down, no doubt about it. But like Ed said, what one was more valuable, COVID or golf now? I know 2 years ago we were doing 10% internet bookings. Now, I mean, we're upwards of 40, 50%. So, you guys know when you book out your hotels and reservations, flights, restaurants.
Everybody does it.
Yeah, cell phones
Convenient,
is the
and
technology.
there's Too many,
Yeah.
there's so many outfits that are going to give you a discount compared to trying to do it direct, and you can't do it direct on the phone anymore anyway.
No, they don't
They
take,
don't let you.
unless you're lucky and you get them,
Yeah.
very rarely.
Right.
Even at a hotel, you
Some
call
of them
up.
even have you get, if that's your inquiry through their answering service, they
Right.
direct you right to
Yeah.
something else.
Anyhow, the course is doing well. The demand is still there. Prices are right, and the business model's run.
Dana, can we do a survey of greens fees
Sure.
on local courses in anticipation of
How many you want?
next year? You have a list of them?
I had a list, but I probably can bring it, I'll do it, Dana.
Yeah.
I'll get it. Look, just municipal or semi-private and municipal?
Start from the top, Pine Hills,
A
work
cushion.
your
I
way
think-
down to Waverly, and go to Rochester.
Well, you're gonna have to look at your competition.
Right.
All right, I'm not going over the
And
bridge.
tiers.
I'm not going over the bridge. Am I?
Brookside.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, well, all
What's your
right, I'll get all of
competition?
them. Next meeting, I'll have them.
They're gonna be through the roof. But Brookside, even Brookside's gone up more than they're worth. But
Yeah. All right.
so if you guys don't have any further questions, we do have a full golf course. I'll throw this on the local cable access, and I'll call in if I have any questions.
Please.
Zoom meeting.
Yeah, Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah, Nick, set up a Zoom.
I got till
We all,
6.
we all set with Dana then? We all set with Dana?
I am, I don't.
Yeah. all right.
Gentlemen, thank you. Have a good evening. Steve, good work. Course looks great.
Hey, how did the,
See you tomorrow.
oh, shit. How did the Oktoberfest go?
Good.
Yeah,
Good. We,
sold out?
Yes,
All right.
we did
All right, see you later.
10 grand.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, so our next thing is town administrator's role in golf committee authority. I know Jamie had sent us that memo about a month ago. And a lot of it seems like what our practice has pretty much been, a lot of it, some different things in here.
Yeah, it's pretty much when the Board of Selectmen authorized the golf committee to get more involved in setting direction. Once they gave that to us, I rewrote kind of in non-legal ease what I thought is what was to take effect, how it should operate with Greens Committee and And the Greens Committee set in daily direction for both the Director of Golf and the Superintendent in the absence of us meeting monthly or so, and the time delay and all of that. And we approved that back last November. And then when Jamie came on board, as a member of the Greens Committee, Mandy and I were meeting with Jamie to kind of get a lay of the land and to see how how he would be interaction with the golf course. And so, and I showed him what I had written up and what he basically approved as the way we would operate. And he took it and then put it in, he legalese what we should be doing. And shared it with Mandy and I, and I believe the Board of Selectmen. And Mandy and I asked him, what should we, where are we and how do we move forward? And he suggests that, first of all, the golf committee should adopt these rules of regulation or interaction, what the powers and the responsibility of the committee is, recommending what the committee should be, what the subcommittee should be, and what the town administrator should provide on an ongoing basis. So I put this on the agenda to see if and I did send everybody a copy of it for information if there's any question, or is it something we should go forward and adopt basically this policy of the interaction between the Board of Selectmen, the town administrator, and the golf committee. We've already started, Manny and I have already started to do that as the Greens Committee, which Jamie relabeled as the subcommittee, a non-quorum subcommittee. So in fact, there's no open meetings when we meet with Dana or Steve, no postings of meetings. It's basically supervisor versus employees, setting direction as the golf committees acknowledges support of. And once we get those, that's how we run the golf course. And we've already started, Manny and I are meeting bi-weekly with Jim, trying to get the feeling for staffing and revenue projections and those things. And it's my recommendation that we vote to adopt this policy, if you will. I guess it's a policy. Now Jamie, as far as I know, Jamie sent this to David Wojnar, and sent copies on his town administrative report to both the other two selectmen. But there's been no support, no vote by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
I don't think they will approve unless we approve it either.
Right.
And then it goes to them, and then they go final vote.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve, do you have any questions or?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it doesn't, it basically addresses,
Yeah, on that, one that you guys.
formalities within, the town administrator and the
Yeah.
golf committee. I did want to mention, though, that at some point, there is one bullet point, top of the second page, says assist in establishing revenue projections, course use projections, and a multi-year capital budget plan. This is part of the responsibilities of the committee. And again, I think Mr. Wallner had mentioned when discussing this a couple of weeks ago that we need to have some type of mission statement. What is our purpose? What are our service goals and other things? So that can assist us in this establishing revenue projections and so on. And the last 4 or 5 words, and maintenance plan focusing on cost control and efficiency. Well, I think that needs to be elaborated on a little bit, because cost control and efficiency don't always equal golfer satisfaction and increased rounds of play. So we have to figure out what it is we want to be and the way in which we're going to go about doing that. And then, as mentioned, then those things get communicated down to Dana and myself, and how we're going to, direct our staffs and our operation to achieve those goals. But other than that, I mean, it's basically kind of clarity, and I think for the most part, we do most of it already anyway. So that was the only comment that I had.
What I know is I'm just wondering about timing, right? On the second page, under also recommended the committee should, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth bullet where it's saying, forward the board's approval through the town administrator, all personnel additions, changes, promotions, changes in fiscal year revenue, blah, blah. I mean, where we do typically only meet once a month. That could be if somebody left and we already knew who somebody was going to be, or it's not a new position, but it's just filling somebody who left. I mean, is this saying we gotta wait a whole month, then, let's say, the committee to approve a person to then go to them, and now we're talking 6 to 8 weeks before a person could be replaced? I can see it if we're trying about the overall makeup of the course, right? If we're going, I'm just making this up, 4 maintenance guys to 5, right? We would say we should, as a committee, agree to that. But if it's 4 and one of the 4 leaves and we're looking for someone else, it's the 4. I mean, short of objecting to the person, I don't see the board objecting, us as a group, objecting to filling the position we already had, so why should we have to wait potentially another month for the next meeting?
A budgeted position.
Correct.
Yeah.
That would be my only thing about nitpicking some of the language on that one bullet would be, if it's within something that's already budgeted and they're just replacing 1 for 1, I think we should just be able to move forward, because especially in this climate, things continue. If you tell somebody, oh, you gotta wait 4 weeks for us to meet, and then it gets forward to them, and then the selection need to approve it, okay, you can start working in 6 to 8 weeks, and that's not gonna work.
That's the most significant problem you have in hiring someone right now, is you can't give them, they come in, you interview them, you talk to them, I can't give them a definitive answer, one way or the other. Or I can't give them a definitive answer in 24 to 48 hours, which, as you lose them, because the competition out there is fierce, to say the least. And you get 2 or 3 offers on the table, and so, well, we don't know what yours is, so I'm going with this one.
I think I see that issue, but I see this as a process that will help us speed that up. If the subcommittee's meeting with the employee who is on top of what the needs are, and be able to communicate it to us, and we can get it to Jamie on a bi-weekly basis and go up the chain of command quickly, at least within the 2 weeks of the Board of Selectmen's schedule meetings, and hopefully I can see it progresses to the point where the board and its selectmen grant to the town administrator, if it's positions within budget as a replacement, and that authority be granted to the town administrator, and kind of work our way, all the way down. So I think it's a structure that we can build upon.
You know, like, what you think that would make sense to me, right?
Right.
You know, bring someone at town hall should approve of Jamie. But again, if it, like you were saying, if it's a budgeted position that's already there, well, then why should I have to wait for us to say yes on this specific?
Right, if it's a budgeted position and your revenue projections, your revenue's going to plan, and it looks like you're on schedule or ahead of schedule, it should be a no-brainer. It should just, you gotta keep things going. You gotta keep customer service where you want it. I'm kind of glad Jamie put this together, and
Yeah, because we haven't had anything to go by.
Right.
Or
At least it's a good start.
Yeah, right. It's been, the administration, you know, there's been a few of them, and they haven't really,
Well, they never really
We had
gave
something
the
put together
definition
a
of what
couple
it
years
means.
back.
yeah, we started something.
Yeah, we had
Yeah, we never,
but nothing
Yeah.
as definite as this.
no, that's a plus.
I'm hoping if we adopt this and make that communicated to the town administrator, that the adoption continues through the Board of Selectmen, so it's very clear that we're all in agreement. I know this was memo to, like I said, to David, with copies to the Kevin and to Bob, but nothing formal vote, and I would think they should vote.
Yeah.
I guess we should look for a motion to at least adopt this memo as our guiding policy, so to speak.
Well, at least with this, we have something to go by.
Right.
We
Yeah.
know where we are, where we stand, and stuff like
Because
that.
other times we've said, is it us, is it the town administrators, is it the selectmen, and this does pretty much lay out
Yeah.
where the things fall, and so. Does someone make a motion that we adopt
I'll
Kelly's
make the motion,
recommendations?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we move on to our favorite hole on the course, 15th hole,
Oh, Jesus.
T proposal, pond proposal. And I know that we, at least three of us had that meeting around the end of August. We were out on the course looking at it. Was it Mr. Garrish, right? That's his name?
Yes.
Did I get it correct? Walked us through kind of the vision for what it could be. And they also talked about the potential for some changes to the pond. I wasn't sure from my own personal interpretation, I wasn't sure if the pond was or wasn't going to be part of it, like what if that was as an immediate need versus at least reconstructing the T to move it to a part 3. I don't know if it was now or later. It seems I think we wanted to address the hole without it being a giant project. That was my own thought on it, but it's obviously.
Well, it's rumors going around, if I may say so, that something may happen to the house. So, Mr. Kelly, the last time we met, he advised us that we probably should put this in a hold for a while and see what happens to the house. You know, because I understand there's some problems there.
Okay.
So my suggestion is, and I think Ed and I talked about it, is probably put it in a hold for now until some decision comes from there and we hear more from Mr. Kelly of what's going on in there.
And if we did that, we would remain the temporary part 3 with temporary T
Yeah.
for now.
You're gonna continue just to beat the bejeebers out of that fairway and have everybody stand there and play?
You're not going back to a par 4 on that. You know,
Well,
stay with that part three, the
if,
one that you moved up?
if they make the decision here and he agrees that things are okay with whatever happened to the house, then what's the sense of spending the money? We
Have we
stay
had
at a
any
part
complaints,
four.
have we had any complaints from the
Not
property
lately,
owners?
not lately.
Well, the property, the whole issue centered around the property owner originally sending a letter, actually the property owner.
On the lawyers. But that's
My only
kind
thought-
of
yeah.
fade away.
My only thought is that, okay, so something happens with the property owner, he sells the house. I mean, how is that circumstance going to change if someone else moves into the house and the same issue reoccurs?
Well, I think,
You know,
we're gonna push Mr. Kelly, at least I'm gonna bring it to his attention when we meet with him, that if this has happened, then we should contact the thing and the lawyers and come to an agreement that we've been here for a long time, and what's,
That's like somebody buying a house next to a gun club,
Right.
and then complaining that the
That
gun
is
club was
noisy.
there for 10 years or 15 years, and somebody buys a house next to it, and they complain that it's making too much noise.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the person, whoever ends up buying this house or whatever the heck they do with it, my thing would be, okay, we'll come up with some agreement if there's any kind of damage that we will take care of the damage, to an extent. I remember the first people that bought that house, the kids in school, they used to put out 5-gallon buckets of balls and just put them over the fence and let people take them.
yeah.
He it never really damaged his house. He told me he had 2 shingles broke. That was it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so I actually think why wreck the original course, not wreck, but why redo the course on that one hole if we don't need to? So a lot of times, you see courses that go and redo stuff like the country club and they go back to the original design. Okay, that design's there for, it's a great hole, it's a par
Hey,
4.
I mean, the original design and intent's fine with me. I mean, I'd just like to get the people off beating the snot out of the fairway, put them back on the tee and let them play.
I think that probably will come before the
Eventually,
next
yeah.
April.
I mean, obviously, we go through the rest of this
We
year.
gotta go
Yeah.
through the rest of the
Right.
year
Yeah.
like that, right? But,
Why do we have to go through the rest of the year?
No,
I
hey,
don't care.
just because somebody, I'd be more than happy to put those tee blocks back on that tee.
Well,
With those current people who
you know,
did send us a letter through their lawyer.
that
are still
15th hole's been like that
Right.
for 20 years.
25 years.
Oh, 25 years or so. I
So
mean,
are we suggesting that
why make changes now?
we wait until there's a property transaction change?
I think my recommendation would be, since we're already in the middle of October, let's just keep it the way it is this season. And then over the next month or two, if the rumors about the property come true and it changes, then maybe through Mr. Kelly, we could meet with the new owners of the
Right,
house and just see
right.
right then and
Okay.
there.
Right, that's.
And then we will decide
Yeah,
where to go.
that's a
Well,
exactly.
the other
great
thing too
idea.
is whoever, if somebody puts a sign out there and says so-and-so realtor's selling the house, that realtor ought to have,
Yeah, some kind of saying, this is a
something
golf
to
course.
mention to people that you're living next to, or you're buying a property next to a golf
Yeah,
course, or
15
you're
feet off
buying
the
a
property
property
line.
next to a gun range, or you're buying a property next to a piggery.
Yeah.
You need to think about those things. Of course, they won't want to do it because they probably think it'll influence their
You know what,
sales.
Steve, I think most people, if they're going into that situation in that piece of property there, they know.
They can see it, yeah.
They know what's gonna happen. I would think. They would say, oh, we're on a golf course. What happens if, and their questions probably would be, if damage occurs, do they pick it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, to an extent, we pick it up. Yeah.
So we're gonna put that on, just gonna leave it the way it is,
So-
at least for the rest of the year then.
Whether we convert it to a par 3 or reconvert it back to a par 4, there are issues with the green, with it sinking
Oh, yeah.
and resupporting.
Left-hand side of the green by where the.
By the pond?
Yeah, that was my whole idea behind the pond work itself,
Right.
is that
It's been on
the
his
collar
list
is
for a
sloughing off.
All right. So
And
it's coming
what's
down.
happening is it's basically
Sink.
sinking. It's getting undercut by wave action and water action and sinking.
And also, all the cattails that are up all the way, I would like to see the pond
Cut
fully clear of all of those
cattails.
grass and
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, I
And
cut down the
to
edge, we
point-
cut down the edge usually every winter.
But in support, you were talking about supporting it so we
Yeah.
can define the
Find
line.
that edge, yeah.
So
I
you
think we,
Go ahead, Ed.
I
Sorry.
think we have the funding, I think we should at least go ahead and,
Support it.
and,
Yeah.
and finish that, because you're gonna do the same thing on 15,
14.
14.
14, yeah.
Now, what are you
That's
guys,
next.
15, what are you gonna support, what, like
You know,
ties, railroad ties? or-
No,
Well, the idea is to take, is to, first of all, you drain the pond, you take, these would be, boulders, big
Okay,
rocks,
all right.
and you place them in along the side,
Right.
and you backfill over to them.
Oh,
So the boulders
same
themselves,
thing Allendale did on the
On
part
the
three.
part 3 near the road.
yeah, some
On the
people do,
road.
some people build a retaining wall, some people use boulders or other things. Something that prevents that wave action from
At least
washing
it's a
down.
bit more permanent.
You can get
They
the,
did a good job over there.
you get the cement blocks that they have, they're 4 feet long by.
But see, you need
and
some
stack them
weight
around.
because it's gonna go on top of a liner.
Yeah.
So you need something that holds that liner down, and then you build it up, it's not gonna move, and then fill it in. I've talked to a couple of the masons, and they agreed that's what they would do.
So whether we're a par 3 or a par 4, this work should be done. next
Should be
week.
done, yeah.
Should be.
Yeah, it'll,
Then he can level
Yeah,
through
we
the
can
rocks,
save
and then
that.
he can cut it.
collar, yeah.
How much did it go down, Stevie? What do you think? And how much? I'm just curious.
Well, I could just tell, I mean, in the
foot,
time that I've
2
been
feet?
here, it's probably dropped 2, maybe 3 inches. 14 has
okay.
dropped significantly more.
On
Because
the right side of 14?
The right side of 14. The triplex has a hard time, even the 3-wheel drive machine has a hard time holding that collar. But, that is, that pond routinely, since it's next to the pump house, it fluctuates in volume significantly more so, during the season when we're pumping than the other one does. But it also has more of that, there's less, there's more of that wave action coming across towards the 14th green that causes, it's not
So you would
much,
do the
but
same thing there
Yeah,
on 14?
and then you got a problem with the west.
the backside
Side
of
of
the
the-
pond, when they built the pond, they never created a spillway.
Yeah, I know.
So what happens is, I've changed the level of the pond so it doesn't fill up all the way. But what'll happen in a storm is it breaches the back of the pond, and it breached the back of the pond and it washed the liner out. So you've got a big gully back there. That's why I cut the water back in the pond so it would never get that high. But you've got an issue back there that you need to shore up that backside, or else you're going to have
This is something we have to do.
water going through the
Just to
backside.
go backwards from it. So 15, you don't have to do anything to the green, or do you?
No, I
No,
mean, because
it's
Oh,
just
okay.
take a little bit of the pond and make that.
Okay, so
Right-
the green-
right now-
The green will stay the same.
right
There's no
now,
elevation.
you don't have to do anything with the green because the collar hasn't collapsed
Okay,
close enough to the green to require that.
okay.
Once that retention is put in there,
Right.
I take a sod cutter and cut out a portion of the collar that's collapsed, fill it back in, and basically put it back, seed or sod the other area, and we're fine. But if you wait too long, then it's going to
green-
start, you can see it cups a little bit, it goes down and it comes up. It's going to start eventually getting its way back to the edge of the green.
Right. Okay.
And it's not going to happen tomorrow, but eventually if you don't solve
I
it,
hope not.
no.
By the next meeting, I should have some kind of a price what it would cost to do that.
All right.
So we basically, if we go forward, we need to work our way through these 7 steps. As proposed.
Yeah, if you go forward with the pond, the edge of the pond, then you're gonna have to, you guys are gonna have to review what came from Mike Toohill for permitting and everything else.
So it's basically approving $18,000 worth of support work, engineering work, if you will.
Yeah.
I think if, well, it's just a crazy opinion of mine is, if we're gonna, when we're gonna do this, I think we should go to our committee here that handles the wetlands and see what he says that we gotta do and go from there. I don't think it's necessary to go through all these things and notify the state, the federal, if you read what Mr., what is the name of the company,
Conoco.
Conoco.
Now,
That
Mr.
you gotta go to federal, you gotta go to here for the total amount of $17,000. Our conservation guys should give us an idea if we can do that and how can we do it. That's right.
But in order for your conservation guy to give you an idea of what you can do, he
Right.
needs to see what you want to do on paper. You just can't go out there and say, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, what do you think? And believe me, I was a member of the Rehoboth Conservation Commission for several years. We didn't pass judgment on anything unless we had a plan. As part of the Wetlands Protection Act, you need to have a plan to comment on. And I would assume that, the gentleman who wrote this up was the gentleman who originally did the wetlands delineation for the golf course. He's currently working with the town now in their situation with the asphalt company. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that he didn't put anything in here frivolously. So in communication with the Acushnet Conservation Commission, you may arrive at some changes or some things that they may be willing to accept, but they're going to need to see a plan. They're going to want to know what you're going to do. How much of this are you going to cut out? What are you going to put in? What are your remediations going to be? Where is your boundary going to be? They're going to tell you what they're going to expect to see for erosion control and other things.
Couldn't a private contractor do all,
Excuse me?
couldn't a private contractor do that?
Well, see, that's why you hire, if you go through there
I
and
mean,
look.
without hiring this firm, couldn't a private contractor come in and do that?
Well, if the private contractor he can come up with the plan, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Other
if
than paying
the
$17,000
private
somebody come in.
contractor is still going to have to go through the permitting process. He's still going to have
Who
to
would you have to,
notify.
who would have to sign the permits?
Excuse me?
The town?
Well, the permitting, I'm not quite sure who would be signing the permits, because it would actually probably have to be the town, because it's the project on town property.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not
If
the
you had a
outside.
private contractor.
If it's not the outside contractor that's, he's doing the work that you asked him to do. In order for me to do,
But if
you have to
if
pull
an
certain
outside
permits.
contractor writes up a plan, and.
How are you gonna do it?
How he's gonna do, what he's gonna do, what material he's gonna do, and all that, and gives it to the town.
And what he's going to do, in order to get that
$17,000.
plan, he's going to hire or have his own wetlands person on staff to do the plan and know what the regulations are and going to know what's called for. I'm doing is pointing out to you,
See
this
if
is
we can get away without spending all this money here, $17,000, almost $18,000, to have somebody come down and say
And
you
that's
can't.
twice.
Huh?
If we do anything with it, it'll be twice.
Yeah, I mean,
well, it's up to you. We had the architect come out and look. This gentleman works with him. He's currently working with the town. When the pond was in question, we had him come out. He gave you his opinion. If you want to ask him any questions, I tried to get him to come tonight, but he couldn't make the meeting tonight. He said if anybody has any questions, they can write them down. If they don't want to do that, come to a meeting later, but it's up to you guys. I'm just saying, this is like me coming to you, David, and asking for your opinion when it comes to finance and other stuff, and you're not going to, pull any punches, you're going to give me your opinion. Whether or not you guys want to accept it and move forward, that's up to you.
I mean, in looking at these 7 tasks, right, the 2 largest ones are the Wetlands Protection Act notice in the US.
Yeah, the NOI.
Right. So I mean, that's stuff that was gonna have to be done by somebody. right?
Someone.
So whether it's Conoco, someone else, a subcontractor, somebody else. Right, so unless that price is out of line, that is going to be incurred by whoever would do the work for us. So that's my
Most of the tech.
only thing is
Well,
that,
let's find out what the contractor's gonna do. Whatever contractor that we talk to, let's ask him what is he gonna do and what is to be done. I mean, we got an idea from this company what the things are gonna be done. So we're gonna go out, instead of hiring them, we're gonna go and try to find a contractor that will build the walls. And then if he's gonna have the engineer draw it and tell him what he's gonna put in there and go from there.
Would our conservation agent be in a position to recommend a contractor to do this?
I don't think you wanna ask him that, I think
I don't know if they.
we should.
Well,
put the contractor-
I don't think they can.
No,
They
I
know
don't- they
of,
can't
but
do
they
that.
can't, because this is someone that they would have to deal, if they works in town, this is someone they may have to deal with on another project.
Legally, I don't think they
No.
can.
I can, right.
You know.
We should have the contractor that we pick, or the person that we talk to that thinks he can
Well,
do the job.
needless to say,
go
again,
do it.
if this, what's the dollar limit you're not going to exceed without going out to bid?
so there's 2 things.
So, I mean, if
This-
you call up a guy on the phone and say, come over here, take a look at this, tell me what you're gonna do. He comes back and he says it's gonna cost you $15,000. What do we do?
Exactly, and
Well, this guy's gonna charge $15,000 without any work at all.
No, I'm just posing the point to you, because I thought the limit was $10,000. You have to have bid documents and specifications.
Yeah.
That's what I was told when we approached the project doing bunkers on the second hole.
And it's, what,
Yeah, so-
99,000.
I'm not taking sides here either way. I'm just saying, okay,
Well,
if it exceeds
I
that
think
dollar
there's
limit.
many ways to cut it. I mean, we get the
I don't know.
contractor, the contractor says we need an engineer, so the town goes and get an engineer, and you get 2 bills now. That $15,000 to do it, now the contractor says he wants 8, and then the engineer says I need 2, and it's the 10,000, nobody will over $10,000.
Hey, I'm just asking
You know
how
what I
it
mean?
works. I don't know.
I mean, it is 2 different companies.
Yeah.
So we can go in that route. I'm only thinking of a way that we can do it and save some money, that's all.
I don't think, it wouldn't hurt to have a contractor come down and look at it
Yeah.
before we
And
have.
find out what else we can do.
Like you said, the contractor's gonna come down, he has no specifications or qualifications probably to even give you any of this. That's the problem.
Right.
right,
He's gonna have to say, well, let me go contact this engineer.
Yeah,
Let me
let me go-
contact that engineer, and let me contact, because most construction companies we're looking for someone reasonable, don't employ these people.
But now you have 2 bills coming at you, instead of having one bill coming from one person.
Well, that depends on whether your contractor is going to be a general or a sub. If you cut, most guys, if you
Well,
come to
sub.
them, they're going to sub it out, but they're
Right,
the general.
exactly.
So you're still paying the general, and the general's paying the sub, because the general's getting a little tick on his income from what he's charging you. So,
I think we need to do a little more research.
you could see if you can get on, the Conservation Commission's agenda, but you're going to need a defined project. If you want them to go out and, because what conservation commissions do, is when they get a project request, they go out on a site visit. And they establish, and what they're going to ask you, before they go out on the site visits, they're going to want the wetlands delineated. So they can see where they are. They're not going to want to go out there and delineate them themselves. They want to see your delineation so they can agree with it or not agree with it. And then from there, they move forward, and then they're going, but that's what they do, and that's the beginning of this notice of intent process. So they're going to want to have something, so say, okay, we're planning on doing this, here's this is delineated, this is what we'd like to do, and they're going to have a whole lethargy of questions based on, to give them the information they need to decide on.
Manny, this
where to go
proposal's
next.
only good to December 1st. So that gives us,
Either that or we just voted a little while ago to put it on the hold. So it's on the hold, and if we get an answer before that, then we can make a decision. If not, then
You can always get this revised.
revise.
Yeah, you can get it revised, yeah.
right.
So that's not a big thing.
Based on all the sequence that you just kind of put on the table, is that what Mike would be doing?
Yeah, so that's part of, if you look at, if you look at what he presented here, that's what it says right there. Task number 1, resource area delineation. Okay. Task number 2, taking the survey. Task number 3, mitigation plans. Task number 4, notice of intent. Wetland Protection Act is what WPA is. And then 5 is the USACE 404. I don't remember what that is right off the top of my head, but I've seen it before. Water quality certification, because you're going to be working in and around the water body, so you want to make sure you don't, do something that silts the water body or something else. And then project management. So the first thing right there on the top of the list, resource delineation. Before you propose something to the Conservation Commission, they're going to want a resource area delineation so they can go out and take a site visit and look at it. And it doesn't seem like it's very difficult. Okay, here's the pond, but that's the process that they follow, and that's what they're going to want to see.
So
Was that a man-made pond? No.
Yes.
It was?
Yes, I believe both of them were man-made ponds.
they are.
They both
Yes,
have liners.
but they say now the pond, after 20 years, it becomes,
It's been so, after a certain amount of time.
it
it's-
becomes
Permanent, right? A
Yeah.
real pond.
Yeah.
it becomes pretends to wetlands, because I made the argument about, that was a cornfield, and there was no
pond.
signs of any wetland things. Now, we got plants in there, they says that signifies that it's wetlands. So,
Well, see, part of your resource delineation is plant species identification. And when plant species are identified, that's going to give an indication to the Conservation Commission what type and what significance of the wetland you're dealing with by this plant species that are identified.
See, here's another argument that we did that in the beginning, when we were building this thing, with the conservation about the arrowheads and everything else. They found a lot of hot spots around 8, 7, 10, and all that. And they wanted us to excavate that in the beginning. And then we finally used the argument that that was not natural. That was things that they took out of the land to build the bog, and they spread it all over. So that disqualified, and then we didn't have to do that. The only one we had to do was the one on number 3, that somebody found a little piece of pottery there that he should have flipped it in the woods, but no, he brought it out. It cost $100 and some thousand.
You're right, though, man. Yeah,
Well, I mean, down in 7, 8, 9, that was a gravel pit, so all that
Yeah.
stuff was turned over and over.
Well, yeah. But on the left of that, that was a cranberry bog. But we did, in the meetings where that's in Treehouse, I mean, I remember the guy from the Washington come down, remember that? And we argued with the process there, and we won.
So for $17,000, Mike will work us through the process, which will be sitting down with you, come up with a concept or plan, have it proposed to us, and say, that's good, and then he will go to the conservation
Yeah, he would work
and
with the yeah.
presented it, and then work through all the phase until it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I would go back. Yeah, I mean, he outlines it here. Perform all services in a timely manner, and so on and so on. I mean, I go back and I can sit down and talk with him. I mean, I didn't get a chance to really talk to him about the whole proposal, because I didn't know how and when we were going to move forward, if we were going to move forward. But he's a good guy. Like I said, he's currently working with the town. I mean, I'm sure if, the best thing to do would have y'all sit down with him and ask him the same questions, because he can answer the question, like, man, well, do we have to do that? Well, maybe not if we approach it this way, or, but I'm sure he's putting what he put in there, not to leave something out and come back to you and give you a $14,000 price, say, oh, by the way, I forgot this, and it cost $17,000. So whether those points are negotiable and how much, that's something that you need to sit down and discuss with him.
I just looked up number 5, that's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Clean Water Act.
Yeah.
So it's probably something that, again, someone like him or his firm is familiar with doing that.
Well, all the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers gets involved with all water bodies. Any water body alteration or change is the Corps of Engineers.
But the boats don't fit.
So that's just a matter of processing.
Yes, that's just a matter of process. And any waterway change, any river, any embankment improvement, that's all Army Corps of Engineers.
Right? No.
There's a pond, doesn't go anywhere, it's just stays there.
Man, I agree with you. I'm not arguing, but I have.
I'm with you.
If it was up to me, I'd talk with our very capable DPW folks, and we can probably, between them and us, we can probably do it without a problem.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
then-
I just want to do it legit.
Yeah, that's the problem. You can't just go in there and do things.
The concept you have, cleaning up the side of the pond and protecting the greens from falling into the pond, is something that's worth getting done. And how do we go about, I don't want to attend the conservation committee, I don't want to sit down and design with the.
See, that's why that's part of the project management, and going to the meetings. What he's giving you is a quote on, or a proposal on his performing the necessary tasks to get this through permitting and everything else. So you don't have to go with the Conservation Commission, or I don't go with the Conservation Commission. Your representative goes to speak about the project. I mean,
we go there and they ask a question that we don't know the answer to, and then you gotta go back again.
Then you have to go back again and again and again. So that's why you sit down with this person, you communicate your concerns or interests, he understands those, and then as he sits down with Conservation Commission, he can use both the knowledge he gained from speaking with you, plus the knowledge he has himself to go through. And again, I mean, I would say you were kind of lucky that he's currently already working with the Conservation Commission, so that kind of bodes well.
What does that mean? WPANOI, what is that? Stands for?
Wetlands Protection Act Notice of Intent is what that means. Notice of intent was what they require you to fill out and process, because it's the notice of intent for what your project is. You intend to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They want to know. And they want to know how you want to do it, how you're going to do it, what mitigation processes you're going to use, and so forth. Most of the time, it's a wetlands biologist or teamed up with an engineer who do that work.
Now, water qualification certification, that's TBD, so that they don't have a price on that, right? So that's gonna cost us money, right?
To be determined, yes. That, to me,
What it would be.
that says one or two things. Not knowing completely what this, significance of the water quality, question is going to be. You couldn't really put a price on it initially, or there might not be a price involved with it at all. I don't know.
It's not drinking water, it's just water to spray over grass, right?
Yeah, the only thing is, I mean, I think that the water quality that they're concerned about, again, this is only my guess, would be siltation because of the work you're doing in close proximity. So, I mean, you're dealing with well water already, which is high in manganese and iron anyway, because that's what the well water is like around here, so.
I should be drinking it because I take manganese pills.
Jumped in the.
So, I mean, if, you know, if we're not going to, you know, obviously, we put the other portion of the project on hold, what my suggestion would be is, I mean, we don't have to do this tomorrow, so when we decide to have our next meeting, see if we can have him come and take a few minutes to discuss this proposal and see where we might be able to save costs or some things we might not have to do, and so on, because that's the best way that I think, you know.
I agree
Can
with that.
we-
I agree with that.
Can we accept this proposal?
Yes, because there's an exception for architects and engineers and professional design
can,
consultants, so
okay.
we could if we wanted to. I mean, to me, given his history with the original design of the course, that he's working with the town on other projects, shows that he's familiar with our town and this project. I mean,
Sounds like a logical candidate
right,
to
so, and I don't
provide the
think,
services that we need.
I don't think anything, shouldn't assume, right, but I mean, most construction, even the big companies, a lot of times don't even employ these people. They go into subcontract with, you know, him, a Flaherty, or somebody like that, who's
Right.
gotta come do it for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
You got everything
these things have to be done by someone, especially when we're dealing with the wetlands. I mean, it's an unfortunate reality. So, to me, the only other potential, if we're saying we don't like the 17,000, or if someone's not comfortable that that's a valid price, well, then you find another company who does the same work and have them give us a competing proposal. But somebody needs to do all of these tasks on our behalf if we're going to do this project.
But let me ask you another question. Is this just for the pond, the pond on 15? Or is this for the pond on 15 and 14?
As far as I know, this is for the pond on 15. I don't have the, final thing here.
Look up with chestnuts, they'll look.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go through the body of the work, he's, I have the whole proposal on my laptop. I don't want to pull it up and read the whole thing, but I'm assuming, since that was primarily what we looked at, that it would be involving the pond on 15.
So if we would get the project to do the 14 pond also, which is in danger, probably this is not valid, right? This would be more money.
I wouldn't say it's not valid. I'd say you might, you know, obviously it might cost you a little bit more because you'd have more, you know, engineering and whatnot to do. But again, I would think that those would be, because he and I have already looked at the 14th pond back in 2014. When I noticed that we're starting, you know, that I was going to have to start cutting that water level back. I believe it was 2014. But so he's somewhat familiar with that. And he didn't write up a proposal, he wrote up you know, basically what his comments are and what his, you know, recommendations would be. So, I mean, you could add, I mean, you know, if you wanted to, I mean, you could probably, notice of intents have a lifetime, so if you wanted to, you could probably ask him about, you know, hey, you know what, if you're gonna be here and we're gonna go ahead and do this and we have to do that, I mean, can you help us out here, put the two together, you know, do two at the same time or whatever? I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there.
I think that would be a reasonable thing.
Yeah.
There could be an economy of that, because if we do one now and just move this up, 3 years from now we do the other one, well, it's gonna be this same
Same
amount.
thing.
But if you do it, some of this regulatory stuff at the same time,
Yeah.
it's probably not too much more to include.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying, that's why,
I would
those
like
are
to
the
know
questions
that
that you
before I make a
wanna ask
decision.
this guy.
That might be.
I would like to know that before we make a decision.
I like to get them in here.
Well, when we find out when our next meeting is, I can see, I can ask him to come in and, you know,
Because then it might be
I
worth it
just,
if it's.
you know, just out of
That might-
curiosity,
Because if it's only a couple
ask him a few
thousand more,
questions
getting
about,
both plans out of it, then.
you know, what other.
We got it. I mean,
You know,
we're
you're
doing
one
it.
company, just out of curiosity, what other companies are out there? I don't know anyone else except.
I mean, I could, you know, I know the people that, you know, like you said, most contractors, like, I
Don't have
mean,
that.
when we were in, when I worked in Rehoboth, 95% of the time, the project was done by Otis Dyer, who was the lead surveyor engineer, and, you know, they would hire Otis, and they would do the surveying, and then, and either that, or they would hire, I think it was On-Site, there's another company that was in town.
Yeah.
But they're all companies, like you said,
Right.
that, you know, somebody goes out and hires, because
Yeah.
unless you're a very big construction company, you're not gonna have these people on staff
You're not.
because it's too expensive to,
Exactly,
you know,
because you don't
pay
get that kind of work all the time.
all the time, no.
So, there
Yeah.
you go. Yep, all right.
So once we decide when our next meeting is, we'll see if we can get them in here. I mean, like I said, it's not something we have to do tomorrow, so.
All right, I think that's a good way to move forward with that then. So then, hole number 2, bunker repair.
I think that's supposed to start on the 17th.
Did he get back in touch with you?
Yeah, he got back to me and he said he'd be here to see you and start on the 17th,
So,
next week.
that's this coming Monday, right? Okay, so at some point.
Actually, I made a mistake when I talked to him. I thought the Monday was 18th. But I specified that would be Monday, but
Well, if that's the case, then I'm gonna have to, you know, have, you know, when, I'd like to have some idea of
Well,
what
he's
he-
supposed to come and talk to you.
Oh, he is, okay, before the 17th, not 5 o'clock in the morning on the 17th. Because I gotta inform the pro shop and everybody else, you know, what we're gonna be doing.
I'll try to get a hold of him tonight.
Okay,
All right, drought conditions and reserve funding.
Yeah, just a question on hole number 2. We do need to be pretty clear as to what he documents, what he's going to do and what you guys are gonna do. So,
well, I tell you right now, I don't have much staff right now to do much of anything.
right,
I'm hoping that he's going to show up with a little bit of help and not be sitting on the machine expecting me to send guys out. I mean, I lost one guy to another golf course already, and the only ones who are left are, I mean, you know, with the exception of 2, are over 65.
What did you and him talk at the last time? Hey, he was talking to you of what he needed, what he was gonna do, and you were gonna do.
Well, we didn't really talk,
What I
we kind
understood
of more
was some-
talked about what, you know, we're standing there looking at the project, and we were more in line talking about what, you know, what he was gonna do, you know, okay, we're gonna fill in this bunker on, you know, the far bunker on the top, and we're gonna fill in the little pot bunker, leave the one in front and the larger one on the side there. But, you know, in order to do that project, you're gonna have to strip the sod, obviously, you know, you're gonna wanna strip the sod out, you just, you know, you use material to fill in the bunker, you're gonna need to shape it so it can be, you know, maintained. We're still gonna use it as some, you know, some aspect of a hazard for people to get out of, unless you want me to fill it all the way to the top and, you know, and just not have a depression or anything there at all. I mean, that's the kind of the idea about, you know, sitting down and talking about it first, because, I mean, I have my ideas of what it should be, but again, it's not my course, it's not my property. So, you know, just to say fill it in, so does that mean just, okay, take the sod out, put dirt in it, put new sod in, and you're done?
so it doesn't sound like he can start on the 17th or 18th.
No, we have to, I think what's best on the 17th is to have a meeting with him and then go over everything we're going to do, so then, you know, we're prepared and ready to
Who's
go.
doing what?
So a planning meeting, go out there, say, okay, who's gonna do what, when it's gonna get done, and so on.
And document what's going, who's doing what.
My thing would be, Steve, my thing would be is that you are the main man, and your way of doing it should be done your way, not the guy that's digging. You are the man. This is your thing, you know, I mean, you know more about that than the person.
Yeah, well, I can, because,
guarantee-
he had mentioned a price to Manny, so I want to be able to discuss with him, what that entails, because, I mean, you're going to have, you're going to have some bunker sand, you're going to have some topsoil, you're going to have sod, and so on. Who's going to be responsible for ordering that stuff? Who's going to be responsible for, getting it bought
To
in?
go back, not
and
even worried about
transport
that,
it?
just the way it's gonna shape, depression and whatever. I'm more comfortable with you.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure that just like I would with any contractor, making sure that the slopes are maintainable. I mean, you guys can see from the original construction that there really wasn't a good egress for people to walk up to.
Right.
And there's, because of the steepness and what have you, and there's wear spots and other things, which I think he can correct.
Right.
Cutting it out, filling it,
Right.
redoing the
John,
slopes and stuff.
you play a lot the Resi. He
Right.
did all the restoration at the Resi, of quite a few bunkers over there.
Years ago.
Not that long ago.
Yeah. The last bunker that was done was they shrunk the one on hole 3 and really shrunk it. And they cut the grass so low there that if you don't hit the green, it goes right into the bunker, but it's a smaller bunker. So if it misses if you go and the approach is over that bunker to the left or right, it just rolls right back down the hill. Which, because the hole isn't that long, it's 3.
Well, see, what you have to think about with bunkers are hazards, and a greenside bunker is made to be landed in on the fly.
Right.
Your ball shouldn't, unless you have a big kick and a bounce, your ball shouldn't roll off the green surface into a bunker. I mean, that's penal. I mean, you hit the green and you're going to roll off the green into a bunker.
Well,
that shouldn't. It's like these guys.
Well, go to see the country club and that happens.
It happens at Resi,
Yeah.
believe me. But,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
happens in
that's
a lot of golf
it's-
courses.
I don't. I mean, yeah. If you,
But
it is a public
if you,
golf
It's a public, thank you.
well,
Yes.
that's the thing.
You're right.
You have to. You want to keep people moving.
Right.
And like I said, the bunkers are a hazard. And really, if you look at the original design of those bunkers, the ball was meant to go in them on the fly. It wasn't meant to go, or a bounce. And depending on where the bunker is, you have a lip on a certain side and not on the other side, depending on how the ball gets in.
Right.
Fairway side of the bunker, you don't have a lip on because the ball's supposed to roll in.
That's right.
But trying to get out of the bunker going
There's
towards
always
the
a
green,
lip.
there should be a face or a lip to
little
make it a
bit.
little bit more difficult.
But I mean, we haven't discussed some of those things. I thought we had discussed them all the way.
Yeah, so we can discuss.
But we don't want all putts. We don't want to have the hole there and make a grass bunker. I think we want to level that
Level it.
off to some extent, that you don't have to go in as a grass bunker.
Well, if you want to, the only thing you have to consider on the second hole in that back bunker, if you don't make it some type of depression, if you just make it a mound and the ball hits that solid, it's bouncing across the cart path and down in the gully.
Right.
So do you want that to happen, or do you want to have something there that could possibly, that's going to happen sometime anyway.
Something that's
But
gonna
something's
catch the
going to
ball.
catch somebody,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, it's not that difficult to do with that, and I'm sure he's capable of doing that. I mean, we just look up there and say, okay, we can look at it and say, okay, we want to roll this way a little bit and roll that way. And it should work. I mean, we can make it a smaller pot. That way, it gives you more room to hit something other than the embankment and bounce. You could hit in rough. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if we're going to, I think we should meet on the 17th and delineate stuff, and get a clear understanding of, because we can go out there with paint gun or whatever, and we can paint what we want to do, and then talk about material delivery and stuff. Because I don't want to be The other thing about if I want to know who's going to handle the materials, because I don't want to be told that I'm supposed to order something and it's not here for him to use. So I want to know, I want to get that scheduled, because I'll have everything bought in right away, so it's here. So anytime that he's available to work on it. And the other thing we have to do is it is a public golf course, we're still open, people are still playing. So we want to be able to have a timeline so we can finish.
Right.
So we're not, interrupting golf to any great extent. So that's all stuff that we can discuss and get coordinated on, when he comes by. So once that's set, then we can knock it out. I don't think there isn't really any irrigation involved. The irrigation's already there, and we're not working in an area to disturb it. So just have to delineate it so it doesn't get hit, and then we're good.
All right.
Move on.
Okay, so now we're back to drought conditions, reserve funding.
Is that me, or is that,
Yes, how much money are we going to use, will be required to use from the reserve to put the golf course back in green condition? Now, you
All right.
sent me.
yeah, now, to date, what we've done is we've had an $8,806 charge to the fertility budget, which was wetting agent and the liquid fertility products applied to the fairways and approaches right almost 2 days after the 18th August meeting where I was told to go ahead and spend the money. So,
Correct.
then charged to the pesticide budget was $4,596. I call them biostimulants. Basically what it is materials that get down into the soil and make nutrients more plant available to help the established grass, or the grass that you have there, start its recovery process, but also to be there available in the soil, so when you put new seedlings in there, or new grass seed that germinates, sends down shoots, then it has something to feed off of to grow. So, and then charged to the seed budget was $4,500. Now, I've actually spent $6,750 on seed, but I normally spend about $2,000 to $2,500 annually anyway. So I was just including the $4,500 as I would have determined to be excess. We've so far, that $6,750 got you 35 50-pound bags of seed. We have overseeded the portions of the second fairway, the entire third hole, the entire fourth hole, the entire fifth hole, the sixth hole, the entire eighth hole, the bottom half of the 10th hole. We have portions of 7 and 9 remaining to do. Plus, we've overseeded tees on the first hole, the third hole, the fourth hole, the fifth hole, the sixth hole, 7, the 8th hole, 1 tee on the 9th hole, and on the 11th hole, and the 12th, 13th, and 14th. So in answer to that, so to date, we've spent $17,904.53 above expected budgeted expenses for FY 2023. So now there is I would plan to make one more of those applications in the spring. It hasn't been made yet. We don't have to make it. If we were to make it to give us a jump start out of the spring, that would be an additional $6,279. And the reason these numbers are so big is because you're dealing with approaches and fairways. You're dealing with your largest, area across the golf course, 31.56 acres. Now that 6,279 we don't have to use, I just, recommended it. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. So that would bring the total to 24,181.53. So whether or not we want to go,
We need to get it as green as we can get.
Well, the Fairleigh fertilizer's been put down on almost, is starting to kick in now. The majority of it's, your seedlings aren't going to pop up and then tomorrow fill everything in and look pure. So you have to give them a little bit of time to develop. And one of the issues we have a lot of times is a significant amount of car traffic in particular areas. We've been trying to follow a 90-degree rule, but I'll be quite honest with you, no one knows what 90 degrees is. And no one is there's about 50% of the people who are adhering to a 90-degree rule. 90 degrees means you travel down the cart path to the location of your ball, you drive over to your ball, play your ball, drive back to the cart path, and proceed forward to the next instance where you're supposed to play your ball.
See, most people think 90 degree is that one time.
Yeah, 90 degrees one time, then I drive all the way up this side, then I drive over
and
that
then they drive
side.
through the fairway.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I already did it once.
yeah. So I don't have to.
So
do
my
it.
ball, my next shot is from me to Ed. So if you get
So
in the car,
you mean everybody that plays over there is that thick, huh?
I would think.
Well,
No,
a lot of
no
people.
comment.
I'm not saying people. People just. People who play golf for quite a bit of time in their lifetime know what some of these things are. Some people who haven't played that much golf, they never heard of 90 degrees.
No, you're right.
They don't. They have no concept. I mean, you can just go out. You can go out here on any given day and find out that nobody knows that you're supposed to pick up your divot and put it back in where you hit it from. That never happens.
No.
Doesn't even, it doesn't even happen.
What about have a little bottle with salmon seeds, so when they make a difference?
I've got all those bottles in the shop. I grew more grass in that bottle than I grew anywhere else. Nobody. There's only certain people who accept that responsibility, and others.
Everybody, wherever I go, I use it.
I use mine all the time.
So we need to draw from the reserve fund 24,000.
Yes, to replenish the expense. Now, again, I said that so far we've only spent 17,009. If you feel that I
I'll
don't
make
need to
them-
spend if we don't spend the basically 6,300.
I'll make a motion that we allocate 24,000 of the reserve for recovery of the golf course.
I'll second it.
I think that makes sense. I think I said that at our last meeting that, extreme weather like this year, there's a very good reason why we even put the reserve fund into the budget for
That
something that's,
purpose.
just get out of control from the norm of what we would need to do, so
Yeah,
I'm in favor of it as well.
I just want to make that motion so
Exactly.
we know.
So we got a motion and a second.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Steve, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How much water we get left in our total consumption for the year?
Probably right now you're sitting about maybe 2 million gallons.
What?
2 million gallons. I would say. Here, let me.
2 million gallons?
If you will give me a second here, I will tell you exactly. Where am I here?
Operations, we don't have to do.
Monthly water use log.
I got 10 minutes.
This is October. So gallons. So right now, we have 1,700,000 gallons remaining in our permitted annual withdrawal.
So that means from
From
last month, you've used 8,000 gallons, 8,000.
In April, I used 482,000 gallons. In May, I used 2.843 million gallons. In June, I used 2.676 million. In July, I used 4.8 million. In August, I used 4.3 million. In September, I used 1.4 million. The state requires for your annual withdrawal permit that you record your monthly water use and report it at the end of the year. And they also want to have your maximum withdrawal day and so on and so forth, and then your average withdrawal for the period of days you're permitted and all that good stuff. So that's why we keep these all together. But
So July and August use more than 3 times as much as like September or
yes,
May, yeah.
July and August. July was 4,791,000 gallons. August was 4,271,000 or 77,000 gallons.
And there wasn't enough, and that's why you went all.
There was enough, but there's only so much you can do with overhead irrigation. And you'll see in certain instances out there, primarily on the fairways, that you can irrigate and you'll have a spot right where this table is that looks just fine. And right here, 5 feet away, is brown. It's hydrophobic soils, and you can water that till the cows come home, and you might get this to turn green. You're going to turn this part over here that's already green into a mud bath. And you're going to saturate it, and you're going to send your disease pressure through the roof. It's just, given that circumstance, and it's prevalent on some of our fairways. And you can see now, I showed, back when we started talking about cart path only, I showed you 6 pictures of the rough on the 16th and behind the 15th green. You go out to 16 and look at the rough from tee to fairway right now. It's perfect. I shouldn't say perfect, but it's
Plush.
It's plush and green. Again, what it did is it went dormant. Unfortunately, on the fairways, you're cutting at a lower height. You have significantly more hydrophobicity in the soil. That means water won't penetrate, won't go down, and then you end up and you have significantly more cart traffic in those key areas where it was worn out the most. And I will say on the 4th fairway, we do need to make irrigation additions on the left-hand side of the fairway, because the way the irrigation system is set up, if there's any wind at all blowing across that fairway from left to right, the irrigation doesn't reach the edge of the fairway. And that's one of the issues that we've been having there when things dry out.
All right, so we have capital funding needs next on the list.
I don't know if you guys had capital interest. The town administrator requested from all department heads a capital wish list. So I put together a capital wish list and I forwarded that to everyone at Ed and Manny's request. So that should have showed up at everyone in an email and an Excel spreadsheet.
That was the wish list or need list?
That was
Probably
the
we
wish
phrased
list.
it wrong. We should probably put need list instead of wish list.
Well,
So the request was submitted by you. I don't know if Dana has submitted his to,
We haven't received, I received this, but I didn't receive nothing from them.
so we can either put that on a future agenda for review.
Yeah, and you'll know, to that end, I mentioned on there, equipment that we've already approved, but, we still don't know when it's gonna come. So they could be here in, if August of 2023 is FY 2024, correct? Yeah, so that's why it's on there, even though it's already been approved. Some of the other issues that were on there were, we have a failing gas tank, and that gas tank needs to be replaced. I don't know if it's possible, but the guy who fills up the gas told me that, because I told him, I said, well, how big do these tanks come? Because we need diesel fuel. And he said, He said, you could take this tank that you have and convert it to all diesel, because diesel doesn't have the fume requirements that gas does, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, put the gas tanks on there, and we do. I mean, it becomes a problem, and it's become an even greater problem now when we become so busy that after a weekend, I mean, your carts are empty. By the time they fill up all those carts, there's hardly any gas left in that tank. And the gas delivery folks look down the list and say, oh, there's Acushnet River Valley. Oh, they want 300 gallons. Well, when we get a truck that's got 300 gallons left in the bottom of it, we'll send it over to you. But this guy over here who wants, 2,000 gallons, we're going to him first. And then that's how at least that's the way the dispatcher explained it to me. That's how they assign the trucks, by where they need to go in that proximity and who's getting what. So if we had a 500 or 1,000 gallon tank, we could get closer to the top of that list, but we could also last longer. And then again, the question is, I don't know, I'll just throw it out there. Are we going to continue with gas carts? Are you going to try to go to electric carts at some point? Who knows?
I go to electric.
Soon.
I would go in.
And most of your equipment is what's the diesel, right?
Yeah.
Steve?
Excuse me?
And most of your equipment is what's.
Yeah, well, all my equipment takes the diesel. Dana doesn't have anything that would
Right.
that would require diesel.
That's something that we
Yeah,
have.
we'd like to go to electric.
I'd like to see that too.
Me too.
We got
It's so much smoother and
we got to start building a clubhouse. So we're electric.
Well, see, that all falls back
Yes,
again.
no.
That all falls back to what you want to be, because everybody says we want to build a clubhouse. Well, are you going to build the Taj Mahal? Or are you going to build something like they have over at Souders Marsh?
That's what you want.
Yes, we want some.
So
You can
but
store
you
the
have
carts
to
underneath
figure that out so you can start planning on how much it's going to cost. And then you can say, okay, well, if we start putting this amount away by this particular amount of time, we can afford that type of facility, which I think would probably be best for our folks. And we can stick it up on the hill, and then we can put the golf carts underneath it, and we can charge them electrically in there, and then we kill two
That's
birds
the
with one
plan.
stone. So.
That's what I'd like to see.
I gotta go.
All right, John's got to go, and we have
All right.
maintenance update. Have we updated?
Just-
Yeah,
You covered everything. The only thing that I wanted, there's two things, I'll give this for everybody to read, but everything that's on here, we basically covered already. The only thing I wanted to update you on was I did get a quote from Motorola Solutions for our radios.
All right.
Motorola Solutions is the same company that takes care of our police department's radios.
Yeah.
If you look down there, basically 15 radios to be split between the pro shop and the maintenance department. And it includes the 15 radios, carrying cases, charging stations, programming, because they have to program the radios, and shipping.
Of course they do.
Well, they have to program them to your the first question the guy asked me is, what's your FAA number?
Yeah.
And we piggyback off of the EMAs, so I had to contact them to get that information to them. So, total, it was actually around 5,800 and change, so I just rounded up to 5,900.
He's gonna leave.
Yeah, John said he had to leave by 1:15.
Yeah, just want to get to the next meeting.
And then the only other thing was, I listed fall, winter projects there. People can look at that, see where they want to go with that. It includes, obviously, the 15th tee pond and all that stuff. That's, we tabled that, but bunker work, cart path work, tree work. And we do have 2 field controllers. Those are the little green satellites that run the irrigation system out in the golf course. One by the 15th green and one adjacent to the 16th green. The power supplies in the base of those need to be repaired. Unfortunately, our VP satellites are obsolete. So the cost they don't make the parts to fit into our satellites to get them to function. So what we have to do is we either buy a new satellite, which is very expensive, or we get satellites that have been,
Reconstruct.
Recondition. Let me see. He said, well, the VP satellite is discontinued. They don't have any more used satellites, but this is Turf Products or Toro. What they do have is refurbished satellites straight from Toro themselves, from out in Minnesota. The 24 station, which is what we would need by the 16th green, costs $2,300, $2,300, and a 48 station, which is what was up by the 15th green, because that runs the 14th hole and the 15th hole, that was $3,300. So I just wanted to bring that up. It's not, they're not, you know, they need to be repaired. I mean, obviously we'll get through the rest of the season, but it's a capital cost that we should be considering along with our what's that thing we get from town, our town meeting warrant. And I was contacted by Dan Tibbetts. We finally have our isolation valves for the second hole and the fifth hole, and he will be calling me to schedule installation once we blow the irrigation system out, and that will be on the 8th of November. That way he can work in the dry. And one last thing I had was I would recommend at our next meeting that we hopefully put aside some time to talk about staffing and pay rates and what have you as we approach the FY 2024 budget process. At the last meeting, I did mention that we're losing 4 people going back to college, and I had plans to hire 1 full-time and 1 part-time. Since then, we have hired 1 part-time staffer. Full-time staffers I have not had much success with because, quite frankly, I'm not paying enough. The competition is putting ads in LinkedIn and other places for laborers, which is $3 to $3.50 and almost $4 more than what I'm currently paying equipment operators.
So what's the average price out there?
The average price right now, I don't know. Right now, it's the what everybody's advertising for laborers is between $19 and $20 an hour for any non-experienced laborers. Equipment operators, I just lost one to a nearby course. They're paying him almost $7 more than I was capable of paying him. And he wasn't an equipment operator, he was learning how to operate equipment. He's worked for us for 2 years. We taught him everything he knows, and they scooped him up for, I think, paid him $23 an hour, compared to the 16 that I was paying.
So what do we pay a labor now?
Labor right now, we pay $16 an hour.
I paid 15 to the kids, 16-year-olds. So we gotta
we'll
adjust
put
that.
it on the.
It's something we can, something we need to talk about.
Yeah, we need to talk about.
So we can start to get things moving.
So we're on to the next meeting date.
Next meeting.
November the 3, the 10 and 17. November 10th I can't do. But that's
What?
November 10 is the only Thursday I can't do.
Yeah, November 10th doesn't work for me either. I'm going down to visit my 89-year-old mother in Pennsylvania on that day.
So we're gonna put the 17 as the other one?
Yeah, 17 if we wanted to go the week after that.
Well, that's
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
we don't wanna go to Thanksgiving. It's
Huh?
a little before.
Thanksgiving's the week after that.
Yeah, it's the 24th,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So you got the 3rd or the 17th?
17?
So 17?
All right.
November 17.
Here, I'm assuming.
What time?
4:30 is better.
4:30.
Or we're going 4?
4:30, please.
Now, I'll send a note out to Mr. Toohill, see if he can make that meeting.
All right, so other than that, we just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, thank you.